One day, Sally finds a creature sleeping on the ground that looks like a rabbit and stares at it in surprise, so she decides not to get involved and stays away from things she doesn't understand. When she turns her back, she hears her stomach growl because she's hungry, so she takes out a carrot, then introduces herself and asks, "Do you speak human language?" It replies, "A bit," so Sally asks for its name and it replies, "Frau." Sally asks, "Are you a monster?" It says, "No, I'm from the rabbit tribe." Sally understands it's a demi-human, and she shows it a picture of someone and asks, "Have you seen him?" It says no and thanks her for the carrot. Sally says goodbye and leaves, but Frau decides to follow her. Later, they enter a village and meet a man who gets terrified upon seeing Frau before welcoming them. Then he kicks her out of the village cause demi-humans aren't allowed there. Sally is shocked and tells him, she looks strange but she's not hostile. He says, "Don't let her fool you, demi-humans are our enemies." Sally gets upset and decides to take Frau and leave the village. After that they take the harder path and sneak into the village with Frau disguised in a cloak. They meet the mayor. And when he learns they're travelers he's happy and decides to host them in his mansion for the night. So they go with him, and at night Sally has dinner with him. He says, "Welcoming travelers is one of my duties. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know." Then he asks about Frau, so she avoids the topic and says she's sick and resting in her room, while Frau eats carrots in her room because the mayor must not find out she's a demi-human. Then he tells her they didn't use to welcome travelers until recently. The change happened because monsters occupied the place, killed many people, and they went through hard times. But one day, a young traveler came and killed all the monsters by himself. Sally asks, did he have black hair? He says yes and asks if she knows him. Sally becomes happy because she finally found Makoto, the person she asked Frau about. She asks the mayor where he went after that, and he says he doesn't know. But to show their gratitude, they started welcoming all travelers. She remembers how the man treated Frau and asks him, "Don't you welcome demi-humans even if they're travelers?" He says, no village would welcome demi-humans. Demi-humans are savage and dumb since birth simply. They're our enemies. Sally gets nervous and thinks Frau doesn't seem bad to her. The next day she wakes up to people saying there's a monster in the village. The mayor stands in shock because there shouldn't be any more monsters. Sally rushes out and tells them, that's not a monster, that's a ghoul. Suddenly her left eye glows and she feels pain in her chest and heat in her body, but she doesn't move and freezes in place as the monster is about to attack her. Frau quickly saves her and kicks the monster with a strong blow that defeats it. Sally thanks her, but the villagers panic when they see she's a demi-human. Sally gets mad and says, Frau just saved your village right in front of you. The mayor replies, she's a monster who can defeat a ghoul easily. Our fear of demi-humans is justified, and he kicks them out of the village. Frau approaches him with a smile and thanks him for the carrot he gave her. Sally is happy with what she did and tells her, let's leave this place. The villagers ask the mayor, are you going to let that demi-human escape? The mayor gets confused because she thanked him, and that was a kind act. Suddenly, while on their way, they're stopped by a knight from the Remdarl kingdom, who says, I have some questions for you, and takes them to be locked in a cell. Then he enters and apologizes to Sally for the harsh treatment, but says it's because she was with a demi-human. He opens the cell and introduces himself. I'm Hawthorne Gratter, commander of the Royal Knight Corps. Sally, annoyed, replies I'm Sally, and this is Frau. He asks her, still upset. She says of course as if being a demi-human or a traveler justifies this treatment. He says, that's not the only reason. The idea that she's a demi-human strong enough to defeat a ghoul in 2 hits. Sally gets upset that everyone sees demi-humans as monsters. He says, you're right, and I used to think like them, but after I saw her fighting to protect you and thanking the village chief, I realized she's good. Then he fist bumps Frau and tells them, it's time for you to go. Sally is surprised they're leaving this easily. She pretends they went through a hard time because of him, and that he wronged them just to get food. He agrees to invite them for lunch. Meanwhile, 2 ghouls are standing outside the city, planning to destroy it. Their names are Mickey and Seat. Mickey uses the ghoul eye and fires a powerful beam that destroys the city wall. Back on the other side, Sally sees everything in front of her destroyed because of the beam and her eye glows. At the same time, Seat mocks Mickey because after using her power, she shrinks back into a child for a while. He enters without her and finds guards in front of him, but he crushes them all. Suddenly, Sally approaches him with her glowing eyes, and Hawthorne tries to stop her, but she's not conscious. Frau jumps on Seat and kicks him, but it doesn't affect him. Frau calls out to Sally and brings her back to her senses. Seat is surprised a demi-human is helping humans and is on their land. Frau tells him I'm repaying a debt, and Sally wasn't afraid of me, so I want to stay with her. Elsewhere, Hawthorne and his soldiers evacuate the city, and he notices that Sally has disappeared. Meanwhile, Frau attacks Seat with a wooden hammer, but her attacks are still too weak for him. He says, you're fast, but your attacks are ineffective, and he punches her. She jumps to dodge, but he grabs her and says, give up on the humans and come with us. Fra sticks to her beliefs and says, I'll protect Sally no matter what. Seat throws her high into the air and decides to kill her with all his power. Sally arrives and sees Fra about to die, so she screams, don't give up, you idiot. Fra moves and tries to resist Seat's grip but can't, and he throws her far away. Fra suffers serious injuries and Sally gets furious, feeling the same chest pain and rising heat. Seat slams down on her with his full force, but suddenly Sally slices him in one move, with strange and terrifying expressions on her face, and a flame symbol appears in her eye. At the same time, Miki is waiting for Seat and feels he's taking too long. She assumes he's enjoying his time without her. Makoto replies from behind a tree, why are you upset? Miki is shocked because she didn't sense his presence at all, but calms down since he's just a human, and feels excited that she'll also have fun like Seat. She lifts her hair, revealing her Ghoul eye, and tells him, my partner left me, and boredom was killing me. In a blink, Makoto cuts the tree and says, me too. Miki gets tense because of his power. He asks her, that massive cannon blast earlier was from you, right? You must be recharging the power you just used. Then with a scary face he says, it wouldn't be fun to kill you in your current state. Miki gets more scared because he knows all that. Makoto asks, how much time do you have left? She says, about 5 minutes. He smiles and says, let's talk a bit until your power comes back. Meanwhile, Seat is laughing from how much fun he's having after fighting two very strong people. He strikes Sally with his other fist, but she stops it easily with her hand. He quickly pulls his hand back and wonders how she has this strength, especially since she's not like the other demi-human. At the same time, Miki asks Makoto, you're the monster killer everyone talks about, right? He says, I'm impressed you've heard of me. Miki asks, why do you do this? He replies, can I ask you the same? Why did you breach the city walls and kill the humans inside? She tells him, look closely at that castle. They ruin the land, cut down trees, block rivers, and always carry huge stones to build. They think they have the right to destroy the nature, where other creatures live. Humans and their endless expansion are the enemies of the world, and her body returns to normal. Makoto mocks her and says, that might be a reason, but deep down, aren't you seeking revenge for those who took your land? Either way, you won't stop chasing humans even if they start protecting nature. And I won't stop killing ghouls no matter what they do. So I get you, we hate each other, and that's why we feel no regret when one of us kills the other. Miki opens her eye and crushes it, turning into many eyes. Makoto laughs and a peach-shaped mark appears in his eyes, the same mark in Sally's left eye. Meanwhile, Seat realizes Sally is a dangerous being and must be eliminated. He tells her, I feel ashamed to have to use this power on a human, and his horn turns into a cannon, firing a massive beam at her. Miki is surprised when she sees Seat's cannon blast. Makoto uses that moment when she's distracted and slices her in half. She turns to ash then reforms. He asks, you're using Shindo. Miki is amazed he identified her technique from one hit and replies, you're right, each of these eyes is me. He says, that's a fitting technique for someone claiming to love nature. Miki asks, are you sure you're giving me priority? What's happening inside the castle must be clear to you, shouldn't you care more about that? He says, no, I'm not interested in saving people, I just want to kill ghouls. Miki becomes even more afraid and tells him, I sent one of my eyes to call for reinforcements. He sarcastically asks, do you really think you'll last until help arrives? She says, my Shindo will buy me time. He raises his hand, and with a single glance, he destroys all the eyes around her. At the same time, Seat feels disappointed in himself because Sally made him use his cannon. But he's shocked when the smoke clears, and she's still standing untouched. Sally is surprised at what happened around her without getting hurt and draws her sword, striking him directly in the stomach. Elsewhere, Makoto tells Miki, I think your cannon is your only option, why don't you use it? Miki thinks to herself, that's clear provocation, if he dodges I'm done. Makoto stabs his own leg and promises not to dodge. Miki gets mad and refuses to run, firing her cannon with full force and destroying everything in front of her. But her fear comes true. Makoto is completely unaffected, even though he really didn't dodge. He pulls his sword out of his leg and Miki turns into a child. He kicks her and places his sword in front of her. Miki asks, who exactly are you? Makoto recalls his childhood and answers angrily, I'm Kibitsu Makoto, the sworn enemy of Ghouls, then strikes down with his sword. At the same time, Sate falls to the ground, and Sally collapses as well and loses consciousness. Elsewhere, Makoto's dog says, she's still breathing. Why didn't you kill her? Makoto shows him he took her horn, the source of a ghoul's power, and also destroyed her eye, so now she's like a human. He asks his dog, if there's a ghoul that's like a human and no longer has power, what happens to them? The dog replies, both humans and ghouls will reject them. Makoto says, exactly, living in that kind of hell is better than dying. Then the dog tells him, I smell a familiar scent from that castle, I think you noticed it too. Makoto gets annoyed and says, I'm leaving. The dog asks, aren't you gonna see her? He replies, no, but it was a surprise to find Sally here. At sunset, Sally wakes up and finds Fra beside her. She remembers Seat and asks, what happened to him? Hawthorne enters and tells her, I think you killed him, there was no one else there so I'll have to rely on Fra's word. Fra tells her, you were invincible and won easily. Hawthorne shows Sally her sword and says, it was on the ground next to the Ghoul and had blood on it. Sally is surprised she did all that, but doesn't remember anything. Hawthorne tells her, there's another problem. He takes her and Fra outside where the soldiers all cheer when they see them and thank them for saving them. Sally is surprised they're treating Fra well. Hawthorne tells her, no one cares about hating humans right now. You two saved the kingdom from a monster we couldn't defeat so everyone is grateful to you. They reach the cell where Hawthorne lets them meet Miki. He tells them, I heard she came with the monster you killed and that she destroyed the castle wall with a strange power. Sally realizes she's not human. Hawthorne says the farmers outside the walls saw her. Sally says, she's completely human to me. He replies, I'm no expert, but human like ghouls are common. She asks what will happen if she really is one. He answers she'll probably be executed. Sally gets upset and refuses to let that happen. Hawthorne agrees and says, that's why I'm using my authority to delay the execution. I want to hear from her when she wakes up, so I want you two to watch her until then because ordinary knights won't know how to handle her. He leaves and locks the cell with them inside. Fra looks at Miki suspiciously and tells Sally, this girl is faking it, she's awake. Miki gets up and Sally asks her, who are you? Miki replies bluntly, clearly I'm a ghoul. Sally says, you really look human to me. Miki tells them, I'll kill you both and get out of here now, and tries to punch Fra but is shocked her punch is very weak. She's even more shocked when she realizes her eye and horn are gone. She thinks aloud, after all that, why did you let me leave Kibitsu Makoto? Sally is surprised to hear his name and says, if Makoto chased you I'll believe you're a ghoul for real. She asks her what happened between them. Miki tells her about the fight she had with Makoto and how he destroyed her source of power as a ghoul. Sally gets excited and tells Fra, let's go look for him. Then she tells Miki, I won't tell anyone you're a ghoul, so you shouldn't either because if they find out, they'll execute you. Miki is shocked and says, fine, maybe that's better. Sally tells Fra, we're not walking out of here, we're escaping. Fra kicks the cell open, and Sally tells Miki, you might be a ghoul, but that doesn't mean we'll leave you. Miki replies, I'll come with you, but that doesn't make us allies. At the same time, a knight runs to Hawthorne and tells him that Miki escaped and Sally and Fra helped her. Hawthorne is shocked. Meanwhile, they're running from the knights when Hawthorne appears at the end of the corridor trying to stop them. Fra kicks him, and Sally apologizes to him. He asks, do you know what you're doing? She says, I do, and that's why I'm running. You're a kind person, so let us go. One of the knights gives Hawthorne his horse, and suddenly a massive beam passes in front of him and blasts the entire kingdom. After a while, they're all in another city and Hawthorne enters a combat tournament and wins his first match. He asks Sally what she thinks, but she responds without excitement and walks away. Miki asks her, are you sure we shouldn't watch him? She replies, I'm not interested in that stuff. Then Miki asks, why did he even join the competition? Sally replies, probably for the money. Fra tells them, no. It's not about the money, it's about his desire to become stronger and protect others. Miki thinks to herself that the human heart is a curious thing. She always saw humans as insects that must die, and never thought they could have a heart. Sally and Fra are happy she's starting to understand human hearts a little. Suddenly, Sally sees Makoto passing by in front of her, so she runs after him and catches up. Currently, all he can offer her is water because he spent all his money on food for a ghoul named Melia. After doing to her the same thing he did to Miki, she no longer has the power of a ghoul. He tells Sally, I don't have money now, but that might change soon. She asks, did you enter the tournament? He says, not me. Meanwhile, Melia is in the arena and defeats her opponent. Later that night, one of the ghouls is apologizing to his leader, Sumeragi, because he couldn't capture someone named Hatsuki. Sumeragi replies, don't worry, it wasn't your fault, you were no match for him to begin with. The ghoul is surprised and asks, you saw what happened? Sumeragi says, of course you know I love to watch everything. A glowing orb appears, showing him the moment when he stood frozen before Makoto and ran away. A little girl walks in and says to the ghoul, lift me. He's surprised there's a child in a place like this. The ghoul head replies, show some respect to my lady, a mid-level ghoul like you should know your place. Sumeragi tells him, let me introduce you, the head on the ground is Semenki, and the one who created him is this Kishin before you, the lady of masks, Joselino. The ghoul is shocked that the little girl is a Kishin, the highest rank among ghouls, and bows to her. She says, lift me. They go to a magic circle drawn by one of the ghouls Joselino created, placed on the floor of the mid-level ghoul's fortress. He asks them, what are you doing? Sumeragi tells him, we're gonna hold the gathering of the 100 ghouls. And many ghouls rise from underground as Sumeragi welcomes them. Then he shows them a map with a large red spot representing Ghoul influence on the continent, followed by a map showing their current influence. They're shocked it decreased so much. A Ghoul named Gaki asks Sumeragi, "It's because of that peach boy Momotaro, right?" He replies yes, and he's just one human who did all this. They all accuse him of talking nonsense, but Gaki says, "It's not nonsense, he slaughtered an entire Ghoul army and killed Moki." Sumeragi laughs and says, "Not just Moki, he also killed Seat, Joki and Kyukutsuki. If we don't come up with a solution, Momotaro will wipe out our entire race." Then a small child named Todoroki, a high-ranked Ghoul, interrupts Sumeragi and asks, "What are you aiming for? I'll admit the powerful one named Momotaro exists, but why are you exaggerating the fear of him for no reason? Why not propose uniting to defeat him more easily?" Sumeragi replies, "Your words are silly, I hope to scare you more." And he holds up Semenki's head and says, "This is the fate of the Ghoul made by the Lady of Masks, and yet had his head sliced off in a single blow. There are enemies we can't beat with numbers alone, Todoroki." Todoroki gets scared but says, "So what fighting is the essence of Ghouls? Even if the situation is hopeless." Sumeragi asks him, "You liked Miki, right?" Todoroki gets nervous and Sumeragi continues, "But unfortunately, there's no such Ghoul as Miki anymore. She was also killed by Momotaro. Proof is that she should be here as a high-ranked Ghoul like you. I wanted to keep it a secret, but I heard Miki was killed in a very brutal way, her eyes destroyed, her horn taken, and her Ghoul power and dignity stolen." Todoroki is shocked and drops to his knees. With rage, he says, "He'll pay, I'll kill him and avenge Miki myself." Sumeragi ends the gathering and leaves the matter to Todoroki. Afterward, Semenki is furious because Sumeragi humiliated him and told them Momotaro did this to him, even though it was Joselino who made him that way in the first place. Joselino walks up and explodes him, then asks Sumeragi, "Do you want to get along with humans and Momotaro and all that?" He says yes. She asks, "You think that's possible?" He replies, "One of my old friends loved humans and was loved by them, so at least I believe it's not impossible." Joselino gets excited and tells him, "If you need help, don't hesitate to ask." The mid-level Ghoul feels like Sumeragi isn't working for either humans or Ghouls. The next day, Hawthorne is standing and Joselino appears and says, "Carry me." He asks, "Are you lost?" She replies, "No. I'm looking for someone named Sumeragi." He decides to help her and introduces himself. She does the same and says, "I'm a very important person." Then she asks, "Can we be friends? I give my friends everything, whether power or lots of money." He tells her, "That's ridiculous, that's not what friends do. I don't know how you're important, but I don't care, friendship is built on trust. You can't buy it with money or power." Sumeragi appears and asks her, "What are you doing here?" She replies, "You said we'd coexist with humans, so I came to see them." He meets Hawthorne and tells him, "I'm a sage as you can see, and kind of Joselino's guardian," and notices Hawthorne's sword, asking, "Are you joining the tournament?" Hawthorne replies, "Of course." Sumeragi suggests to Joselino they go cheer for him in the arena. Joselino gets excited about the idea. Joselino remembers that the Remdal kingdom, which Hawthorne is from, was destroyed by Semenki. The next day, she goes to the arena and cheers for Hawthorne in his match. Meanwhile, Sally is outside the arena waiting for Makoto. Sumeragi appears and introduces himself, saying, "I'm working for peace between humans and Ghouls and for a future where we live together." Makoto appears and gets angry when he sees Sumeragi. Sally is surprised they know each other. Makoto tells her, "Stay away from him, he's our enemy, he's a high-level Ghoul." Sumeragi says, "He's right, and since I have high influence, I'm asking you to join me, someone with your eyes and power. If you join us, we can build a future where Ghouls and humans live together." Makoto gets furious and says, "I won't let a world like that exist, I swore to kill all Ghouls." Sumeragi tells Sally, "I offered him the same deal before you and that was his reaction." Sally is surprised by how determined Makoto is. Makoto reaches his hand to her and says, "Stay with me, not with Sumeragi." Sumeragi extends his hand to her too. In the past, monsters were corrupting the land, so humans built high walls and castles out of fear. They dug deep trenches, trained warriors, and united together. But the monsters were so terrifying that the humans couldn't fight them off at all until one day. Makoto arrived in Sally's kingdom. She was running from the royal knights because they wanted to take her back to the palace, while she wanted to go on a journey outside the kingdom and explore the outside world. She met Makoto and told him, "Help me escape, hide me quickly." Makoto hid her behind a tree and told the guards she went in a different direction. After that, Sally asked him, "Are you a traveler?" He said yes. She got really happy and introduced herself, saying she was the princess of the Drake Kingdom. To thank him for helping her, she took him to her favorite bakery and bought him her favorite treat there. Then she took him on a tour of the kingdom. Makoto noticed she was very loved by the people and told her, "In all the countries I visited, I've never seen a princess walking freely among the people." Sally was surprised and replied sadly, "I don't know anything about other countries." That evening, she took him to a very fancy restaurant and ordered him very expensive food. Makoto thanked her for it, and she said, "You can repay me by telling me about your journey, because I want to go on a journey too and leave this boring. Isolated place and see the outside world. He replied, this place isn't isolated, this is a good kingdom, at least here it's peaceful, you have enough food, beautiful buildings and above all, kind people. She replied, even so, I still hate it and I hate the idea that I'll live and die here, then left the table feeling depressed. The next day she asked him, do you travel alone? Does that mean the monsters outside aren't that dangerous? What do you think about taking me with you? He replied, my journey is many times more dangerous than a normal one, and you might die and I'd have to leave you behind. Then he added, I'm joking. At the same time, a ghoul entered the king's chamber and was surrounded by guards with spears. The king asked, why are you here? The ghoul replied, I came to take over this kingdom, but I came to visit first. I already ate your closest neighbors, and now it's your turn. The king believed the rumors about the fall of the nearby country. The wolf said, I came to make a deal in exchange for not slaughtering everyone in this kingdom. I'll accept a sacrifice of 30 people each month. One of the guards got angry and said, you think you can threaten us and stay alive? The ghoul exploded his head with one blow and told the king, that doesn't count as one of the sacrifices, of course, and walked out. When the ghoul left and saw Makoto walking with Sally, he panicked and ran away, deciding to cancel the plan. Makoto saw him running and chased after him. Sally went to her father's room and found a lot of noise. The king told her, didn't you want to go on a journey? I approve. You can go wherever you want. She was surprised he agreed since he always refused before. Meanwhile, the ghouls approached and stood before the walls, causing panic. When the princess saw them, she felt her body temperature rise and ran toward them. At the same time, Yaki arrived and told Moki that Momotaro was here. Moki was confused by what he said. Yaki told him, remember when I told you I came here because my country was destroyed? The human who destroyed it is here now, and you can't defeat him, so we have to run. Makoto had already arrived and was standing before them. Yaki was terrified, but Moki got excited when he saw the courage in his eyes and decided not to run. Sally arrived too and told Makoto, you have to run now. Moki introduced himself, and Makoto did the same. Moki asked, are you the one responsible for the destruction of the eastern lands? Makoto replied, yes. Moki got pumped and raised his fist, and in a blink, Makoto cut it off and tied his hair with a headband bearing the peach symbol. He started slashing through the ghoul army standing before him, enjoying it very much. Moki asked him in fear, who exactly are you? He replied, Kibitsu Makoto, a traveler who came to hunt you, and sliced his head off. Sally was shaken because even though he saved the city, the one who saved it was a terrifying person. After that, Makoto's dog arrived, said goodbye to Sally, and left. Sally was surprised he was leaving that fast and hadn't told her anything about himself or his journey or goals yet. She approached him and said, wait, but when she smelled the blood of the ghouls on the ground, she felt nauseous and lost consciousness. A month later, Sally was still filled with regret that she didn't stop him or go with him. Then an idea came to her and she entered her father the king's room and told him, I'm starting my journey. He told her, we've passed the danger now. She interrupted him and said, I've made my decision, I'm giving up my title as princess and leaving this place, and cut her hair in front of him. The king laughed because he saw that his daughter had grown and become stronger. She told him, after I realized how ignorant I am, I spent this whole month thinking the dangers and monsters of the outside world are all unknown, and if nothing changes, that unknown will consume me in the end. He asked her, and what do you plan to do on this journey? She replied, I'll wander and see the world and think about that then. The king decided not to stand in her way and told her, enjoy your time and take care of yourself. And so, her journey began. And back in the present, one night, a girl is walking alone when she hears a sound and gets scared. When she looks behind her, she finds it's just a cat and feels relieved. But when she looks forward again, she sees someone with large fangs and becomes terrified. He's a vampire, and he leaves her body on the ground and walks away. The next day, Hawthorne is walking and telling the others about the vampire incident. Sally doesn't believe that such a thing exists, so he tells her the guards told him there's a vampire in the next town. In recent days, they found bodies completely drained of blood, all with fang marks on their necks. They realize they've already arrived in front of the town, and Sally gets scared and says, why don't we camp outside instead of going in? He replies sarcastically, don't worry, vampires only go after pretty girls, so she punches him before he finishes his sentence. When they enter, they hear people whispering because they're with a demi-human. Sally gets angry, but Hawthorne stops her before she causes trouble. She walks away feeling upset. Miki also gets angry and says, why don't you get rid of them, use your power and punish them? Sally replies, I don't think I should use my power on humans. Miki gets even angrier because Sally can use her power to kill ghouls but not her own kind. She feels betrayed, thinking Sally isn't different from other humans like she thought. They find themselves in front of an inn and think about going in to rest. Hawthorne tells them, unfortunately, after what we saw, I don't think we can take a demi-human inside. Frog gets sad and Sally tells him, convince them like you did before. He replies, we passed the border, and my title means nothing here. He thinks and says, I don't feel safe, maybe we let Fra sneak in and join us later. Sally responds angrily, that's stupid, why should Fra have to sneak in? Fra says, I don't mind, I'll go buy a few things while you get the room, and walks off. Sally gets worried about her. Miki says we can't leave her alone, I'll go with her. Miki walks away upset that Sally can't hurt humans but makes exceptions when it comes to her friends. She asks Fra, what do you want to buy? She replies, something to cover my head so no one knows I'm a demi-human. On the way, Fra sees some carrots and stops to admire them. The vendor says, you filthy demi-human, you think you're special judging my produce. If you're buying, pay and get out of my face. Miki gets mad at his tone. The vendor takes the money from Fra and throws the change on the ground. Fra kneels to pick it up and Miki looks around and sees people laughing mockingly. Meanwhile, Hawthorne is worried and tells Sally, I'm worried about Fra, but I'm more worried about Miki. Sally is surprised, and he says Miki has nerves of steel and is used to fighting, but I doubt she's used to human hostility. She's close to Fra, and if she sees people being racist toward her, she won't handle it. Sally heads out to bring them back. At sunset, Fra and Miki are sitting, and Fra is eating, completely relaxed, unlike Miki, who is very angry and can't understand how humans treat her like that. Fra tells her, it's not just in this city, that's just how humans are. Miki asks in shock, you mean you've been treated like this all the time? Fra replies, yes, and Miki gets angrier and asks, then why don't you fight? She answers, I did fight, I got used to it, and that's why I won't do it anymore. People like Sally make me feel better. Miki gets upset and says, I thought she was different from other humans, but when it comes down to it, she takes the side of humans and has dangerous power. Fra replies, that power protected me and you. Miki yells, that power killed Seat and you've become so dependent on Sally, you don't even realize how dangerous she is. Miki walks away, furious, thinking that if she still had her power as a Ghoul, she would have slaughtered all the humans. She hears people talking about a demi-human in the town and saying she should leave as soon as possible. She also hears there's a vampire in the town, so she climbs the city wall and senses his presence. She smiles and thinks to herself, I know this power and he'll surely finish the job and kill all these humans for me. That night, she goes to him in an abandoned place and says, it's been a long time, Kyukitsuki. He says, it's been a while since I've seen someone of my kind. She tells him, I have a request, kill all the humans in this town. He replies, don't mock me, you could do that yourself if you wanted. She points to her head and says, I would've if I could. He's shocked her horn is gone. She tells him about Sally, how she killed Seat and destroyed Joki. He says, I'm tired of existing, so I went back to killing humans, just to kill boredom. Maybe a battle like this will reignite the spark inside me. I wonder what Sally would taste like. Miki gets startled and says, no, I just want you to kill all the humans in this town. He replies, I hope you don't mean kill all humans, except my friends. Sally poses an imminent threat to Ghouls, so killing her takes priority, and if you were still a Ghoul like you say, that should be your priority too. Fra enters and says, I've been looking for you. Miki, come with me now. Kyukitsuki replies, you're from the rabbit tribe, forgive my rudeness, but I have to go kill Sally now. Fra stops him and strikes him with her hammer, but he dodges. He tries to grab her and she says, you're slow, then spins and hits him in the face with her hammer, but he doesn't flinch and says, you're weak, and grabs her. At the same time, Sally's eye activates and she senses what's happening and runs toward Fra's location. Kyukitsuki tells Fra, I really needed a warm-up, and bites into her with his fangs and uses his cannon, blowing up her body. At that moment, Sally arrives and sees half of Fra's body and becomes enraged, charging at Kyukitsuki. He notices she's extremely fast for a human and thinks, if this is all the power her anger gave her, then she's not stronger than Fra. She punches him in the stomach, and he bleeds, shocked by the strength of her fist, realizing it's not magic or physical power. He controls the blood on the ground and turns it into a sharp blade, slashing her face. She tells him, that didn't affect me at all. He panics and Sally says, my body isn't affected by Ghoul powers, and even so, I hold no grudge against Ghouls, but you're an exception now. Kyukitsuki cuts himself and splashes blood on her. He says, maybe your body is immune to power, but your clothes aren't, and turns the blood into ultra thin threads and pins them to the ground, getting closer to use his cannon to see if it works on her. Suddenly, Miki fires a weak, unidentified shot at him. He asks, what are you doing? Are you trying to save this human? She replies, no, it's not that I hate humans, but Sally is my friend, and I don't want her to die. He says, I see, in that case, I'll do you a favor and kill both of you. Sally tells her run now, but Miki refuses and says, I'll die with you. Suddenly, Fra gets up, her body regenerating, and her eyes turn red. Black wings appear, and everyone is shocked. Kyukitsuki says, your blood really did taste different, you're not from the rabbit tribe, are you? He fires a ball of clotted blood at her, but Fra stops it and explodes it easily. She vanishes from his sight, and he quickly looks behind and finds her hand piercing through his body. He's frustrated she took him down in a single hit. Fra reaches her limit and passes out. Sally breaks free and Kyukitsuki says, I can't move a drop of blood anymore, I guess I'm finally gonna die. He says to Miki, you said you and Sally are friends, does that mean you betrayed the Ghouls? Miki gets nervous and doesn't know what to say. He tells her, I won't judge you for that, I did the same, and shows them the wedding ring on his hand. He tells them that, because his horns were his fangs, it was easy for him to live among humans. He pretended to be human and lived among them for fun. Then he met a woman and fell in love with her. He loved the days he spent with her so much that he forgot he was a ghoul. When he married her and before he realized it, his instincts as a ghoul made him kill her and suck her blood. He tells Miki, you might be upset you lost your horn, but losing it erased your instincts. As a ghoul, I envy you for that. If I had lost my horns, I wouldn't have lost the only thing that mattered to me. Then he says, I'm gonna die now, and the sun will rise soon. This is the best time to move the demi-human you have with you without anyone seeing. They take Frau and bring her back home, and the next day Sally and Miki go out to get carrots for her. Hawthorne is standing at the door of her room, guarding it so no one enters. He goes inside to check on her and finds that she's returned to her normal state again. Meanwhile, Miki asks Sally, shouldn't we be looking for medicine instead of carrots? Sally replies, that's what you'd normally think, but when Frau fought Seat, she got better just by eating carrots. Miki stops and asks her, you're the one who killed Seat, right? Sally replies, yes, I killed him, and I'm not sorry about it. I used my power, because I had to. The vendor who had mocked Frau says to them, if you're going to argue, take it away from my shop. When he sees Miki, he remembers her and says, the demi-human isn't with you today. I know they're rare, but you shouldn't befriend demi-humans. They may look like humans, but they're just monsters worse than livestock, and unfortunately we can't even eat them. Miki gets even angrier, and just before she reacts, Sally punches him first. She says, the one you're speaking badly about is my friend, and I won't let you insult her. He replies angrily, how can a demi-human be your friend? Are you insane? Sally glares at him and he gets scared and she walks away. Miki thinks about how during the fight with Joki, Sally saved Hatsuki before she could be killed, and now she fought for Frau, so she realizes she misunderstood her and smiles. Sally notices and asks, I regret that, okay? Miki replies, no, you were right to kill him. Sally glares at her. Miki says, what? I'm a ghoul, you shouldn't be surprised I want to kill humans. Then she asks, do you really think someone like that would show mercy to Frau just because you punched him? Sally replies, and that's why I said I regret it, but my punch made me see you smile, and that shows your anger and your happiness were both for Frau. You keep saying you're a ghoul, but you see Frau as your friend. Miki accepts the idea that she's no longer a ghoul or a human, that she's just Miki. When they return to Frau, she's awake, and Miki asks, do you mind if I ask you about your truth? Frau looks upset, and Miki tells her, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. You're still our friend, right? She replies, of course. Miki says, that's all I wanted to hear. Sally asks Frau, are you feeling better? Can we continue our journey? Hawthorne replies, that's reckless, she just woke up. Let her rest one more day. Miki replies, we can't, Sally punched a vendor earlier and the army will investigate. Hawthorne yells at her, then I'll take you to jail. Miki tells Frau why Sally hit him. Hawthorne says to Miki, come help me take her to jail. She replies, no, he deserved what she did. He turns to Frau, and she says he really did deserve it. Back to the past, Makoto is walking with his dog in the forest at night and notices someone following him. He draws his sword and charges quickly, only to find it's a girl who gets scared of him. Later, he lights a fire and cooks food while the girl hides behind a tree, afraid to approach. The dog tells her, there's no need to be scared, and she gets more terrified because the dog talks. Makoto offers her some of the food he made as an apology for scaring her and asks, what are you doing here? She says, I have amnesia. I only remember that my name is Melia. He introduces himself as well. Later, when she's asleep, Makoto approaches her and finds that she has a horn, just as he suspected. He decides to kill her, but his dog says, she's just a girl who lost her memory. Makoto asks angrily, why are you protecting her? And points his sword at him. The dog says, don't point your sword at me, boy, and catches the blade in his teeth. He says, I'm no longer on the Ghouls' side, I'm on your side, Kibitsu Makoto, and if you're going to carry that name, don't disgrace it. Makoto lowers his sword, covers Melia, and says, we'll reach the next town tomorrow, so I'll let her stay with us until then. After that, her fate isn't my concern. Then he apologizes for pointing his sword at the dog. The next day, they continue on and encounter a huge ghoul, but it's weak and chicken-like. Before it can attack Melia, Makoto cuts off its head. The dog says there are probably 10 or 20 more like it. Melia gets scared and asks, are there still more of those monsters? Makoto explains, they're not monsters, they're ghouls, and tells her that many ghouls take different forms, like masks or trees. Suddenly, Melia feels pain in her head and remembers a ghoul shaped like a tree. Then they meet the mid-level ghoul who says to Melia, "You're clinging to a traveler to save yourself." She asks in confusion, "Who are you?" He replies, "I'm a nameless mid-level ghoul," and says, "I've been ordered to capture you, Hatsuki." She's shocked he called her that, and Makoto says, "She has amnesia. Can you be a little nicer to her?" The ghoul gets angry and says, "You were defeated by a human, abandoned Lord Joki, and fled." He draws his weapon and says, "I was ordered to capture you, but I see no reason to let you live." Melia is shocked to hear Joki's name, and remembers the tree ghoul and Sally standing in front of her. She remembers her name is Hatsuki and that she's a ghoul. She says angrily, "How dare a lowly ghoul like you challenge me?" The ghoul attacks her and injures her, saying, "I wanted to split you in two, but apparently your body is still tough, your spirit is broken like your horn, yet you still speak arrogantly to me." Hatsuki is frustrated that a nameless mid-level ghoul is mocking her. Makoto, feeling bored, steps in and says to Hatsuki, "I enjoyed helping a helpless girl, but now that your memory is back, you're a ghoul again." He smiles and says, "Kill each other quickly. Whoever survives I'll kill next." The mid-level ghoul places his sword in front of Hatsuki. She thinks about how she can still move her hair with ghoul ability, but even if she kills him, she can't kill Makoto because she knows how strong he is. Suddenly, she rips off her horn with her hand and starts bleeding heavily. She says to Makoto, "Look, I'm not a ghoul anymore, take responsibility and help me," and passes out from the blood loss. She thinks about how she wants to stay alive so she can face Sally, the one who crushed her spirit, and scold her. The next day, Melia wakes up panicked and says, "Save me." Makoto replies, "I already saved you." She asks, "Where am I?" And he says, "In a village in the town." She asks if he killed the mid-level ghoul, and he says, "I wish I had, but since I was in a hurry to stop your bleeding, I let him escape fortunately." He realized I'm much stronger than him, so he made the smart choice. Then he asks, "What are you planning to do?" She replies, "I'll follow you." Makoto agrees because he doesn't want her to die after he saved her. Then we move to the time when the whole city got blown up in front of Hawthorne's eyes while he was taking his horse from the night to chase after Sally, and the others when they escaped from prison. Miki sees Suminki in front of her and asks him, "They sent you?" He replies, "We received the help request you sent and others were dispatched but they all died and after Sit died too. Of course they sent me, I don't get why wiping out a kingdom of humans was hard for them and unfortunately I let 3 slip away, no, I mean 4. And he looks at Meki and says, "You've become human too." Meki gets angry and charges at him, but he stops her with a question, "Can you still use your cannon? Are your muscles like before? And the Sindo, can you still use it? And where's your horn?" Then says, "You're human now, if you had some pride, you would have died and kept your dignity." Meki breaks down, drops to her knees and says, "You're right, if you want to kill me, kill me." Then Sally steps in and says, "If it's all the same to you, leave her with us." Meki gets shocked and asks her in surprise, "Do you even realize what you're saying? Did you see Suminki's cannon?" Sally puts her hand on her head and tells her, "Don't worry." When she stands in front of him face to face, she gets scared and asks Fra, "What do I do?" Fra encourages her, "You beat the huge ghoul called Sit, you're strong." She replies, "I told you I don't remember doing that." Suminki gets surprised and asks her, "You're the one who killed Sit?" She says, "Yes, but I don't remember," and before she finishes the sentence, he lunges at her. Right before his hand reaches her, he hears Sumeragi's voice in his head telling him, "Don't kill her." He replies, "But the orders are to kill everyone in this area." He answers, "That girl's an exception, if you hurt her, there will be serious consequences, leave them alone and come back quickly." So Suminki leaves them and walks away. Then Sally runs to Hawthorne because she forgot he's in a bad condition, and tries to wake him up because he thinks he's dreaming and can't believe what happened. She tells him, "We don't have weapons or food or water or anything. We have to move now, I know you're shaken but you need to be strong." Hawthorne snaps out of it and says, "Let's head to the nearest town." And they do, and they arrive the next morning. People look at them with confusion and contempt because they have a half-human with them. Hawthorne has some money and they decide to go to the nearest hotel. Meki tells him, "I doubt they'll give a room to a half-human," but he says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." They enter and the hotel owner refuses to rent them a room when he sees Fra. Hawthorne introduces himself and the owner remembers him from the patrols he used to do in this town. He asks him, "What are you doing with a half-human? Is this a mission?" Hawthorne replies, "Something like that, and don't worry. This specific half-human isn't dangerous, so you can trust me," and he gives them a room. Then Hawthorne gives his wallet to Sally and tells her, "Buy some food but don't spend it all since I'm jobless now, that's all I've got in this world." She replies, "Looks like you're starting to go back to how you were." And he jokes, "I got slapped by the mighty Sally, how can I not return?" Sally goes to get the food and Hawthorne enters the room and drops to the floor. Meki asks him, "What's wrong?" He replies, "I feel pathetic, I can't put on the brave face anymore. I'm still a knight and I can accept death, but the people I faced death to protect, and the king I served, and my home, all of that vanished in an instant." Fra puts her hand on his head and comforts him, saying everything will be okay. They fist bump and Hawthorne feels stronger and goes to get them water. When he leaves, Miki asks Fra, why are you this close to humans? She replies, I started a journey and faced many hardships alone, got rocks thrown at me, stole carrots, and passed out on the road. That's when I met Sally. She was kind to me, protected me from humans, and smiled in my face. Meanwhile, Sally is walking, thinking whether she should continue the journey or take them with her to her kingdom. She's upset because of the racism against half-humans. Suddenly, Makoto appears and Sally is very happy because she finally found him. He sits with her and says, I like your hair better like this, and asks her, you've been through a lot, right? She replies, yeah. I met many people and went through many situations I'd never experience if I stayed a princess. She asks him sadly, but why is there racism between races? Humans treat non-dangerous half-humans with contempt and ghouls hate humans for no reason and no one even questions it. Makoto smirks slyly and tells her, let me give you a theory. Let's say a half-human killed a human. What do you think the human son would feel? She answers, he'd be sad. He continues, and he'd hate them, and if he killed that half-human, no one would object, but would he stop there? Of course not. If he's strong enough to kill one half-human, he'd kill them all without hesitation. Makoto grabs his sword and draws it with an evil look as if talking about himself. Sally gets scared, but he puts the sword away and smiles, saying, but that's just a theory. He tells her, but prejudice doesn't have to be just from hatred, it could be fear from ignorance or discomfort, because they're facing people unlike them. She asks him, you mean everyone has their reasons? He replies, no, what most people have doesn't even count as a reason, it's just that they were raised like that. She says, but that's not right, it's not just about half-humans. I've seen other races start to understand each other. The first being I met on my journey was a half-human. She's a bit weird, but she's kind. He tells her, you might be the only person in the world who knows that, Sally. Sally gets encouraged and tells him, I've decided my journey's goal. I really hate prejudice. He sarcastically asks, so you'll travel and tell people not to be racist? She replies, no, but I'll try to make even one person reconsider. He says that'll be a road full of thorns. She says, no problem, I can handle a bit of pain. He's happy and tells her, you've really changed, and leaves. Meanwhile, Sumiki goes to Sumeragi and asks him, you're still sticking to this wandering sage disguise? He replies, if I hadn't stopped you back then, that girl would have killed you. He snaps back angrily, your jokes got colder since the last time we met. My body, made for me by Joselino, will never fall in a fight with a human. He replies, a human rising to the level of a Kishin. He says that's an even better reason to finish her off while she still doesn't know anything about her power, and asks him angrily, who ordered you to stop me? He replies, the first. At the same time, Hawthorne is standing in front of the hotel and a little boy comes up to him, very happy to see him. That night, Sally returns to the hotel and asks Hawthorne, who's that boy? He replies, that's Barrett, one of my soldiers. He's the only one who survived the destruction. He asks Barrett to tell Sally what happened. He tells her he was standing guard at the library as usual, and suddenly a girl came out from inside and looked at him angrily. Then he opened his eyes and found himself in the forest. He cries because his mom and dad died in that destruction. Hawthorne assures him he'll find someone to take him in. Sally wonders who could have teleported him to the forest that fast. Hawthorne replies, definitely the strange forest witch. Meki asks, you know her? He says, yeah, she's a stingy witch. Sally gets excited and says, I want to meet her. We have to thank her for saving Barrett. After midnight, Meki goes to the forest and meets Sumeragi and asks him, what do you want? He replies, I came to bring you back to our side again. Continuing to call a ghoul even after they lost their horn proves they hold great power. She asks, can I do a favor and get power in return? What do you want me to do? He tells her to keep traveling with the people she's with and report back about them. He says, use the Sindo, and if anything happens, send me an IO and try to look at them with your Sindo eye sometime. He leaves, and the next day Melia runs to Sumeragi very excited that he summoned her. She asks him, what do you want me to do for you? He says, let's call it support. Let's prepare a surprise for the wretch called Sally. We return to the present, and Sally looks at Makoto's hand and says, Makoto is standing on a path I don't want to walk, and looks at Sumeragi's hand and says, and this is a goal on a path I do want to walk, no matter what I choose, I'll regret it. And she steps forward and grabs Makoto's hand and says, I'll choose the path I prefer, and says I want to stop you, Makoto, but I still want to be with you. So Makoto looks at her shocked and pulls his hand away quickly and says, you can't be with me, and runs off. Then Sumeragi says, go after him, you chose him, so you need to try to learn more about him. Sally thanks him and goes after Makoto. When she reaches him, he says, sorry, I shouldn't have made you that foolish offer. I was fully aware your thinking and intentions are better than mine. All I do is lose control when I see a goal in front of me. She tells him, but I really want to go with you. And he gives her a scary look and asks, remember the theory I told you? She says, yes, that if a half-human killed your family, you'd hate them. He says, I do hate them, the hatred I feel toward them never fades. And that's why I kill them, but no matter how many I kill, the rage doesn't calm down. And that's why I keep hating and killing them. And the cycle never ends. I stop distinguishing between them, so I kill them all. She responds, then as someone who advocates living together with them, if I sided with them against you, what would you do then? He gives her a terrifying look. Suddenly, the city wall explodes and Todoroki appears with two ghouls, one named Shinki and the other named Baso, who is a falcon. Sally's eye changes and Makoto runs. Shinki asks Todoroki, shall I kill the humans here? He replies, there's no point in killing the weak, leave them, and Baso flies up to scout the area from above, with a sleeping child named Damaniki on his back. He hands him to Shinki and leaves. Shinki asks Todoroki, what do we do with him? Todoroki says, leave him on the ground here, no one can hurt him while he's asleep. They enter the city to cause some chaos so Makoto would appear. Meanwhile, Hawthorne is waiting for his match in the tournament, and the guard enters and tells them the tournament is cancelled because Ghouls are attacking us, and anyone who helps kill the Ghouls will get 500 gold coins. Hawthorne thinks about the force of the explosion and figures it must be something like Sit, so he walks away thinking he doesn't have the strength to face a Ghoul, so he'll rely on Sally and the others for this. Then a person named Parsis shows up. He was in the tournament with Hawthorne and easily beat him in the first round, and they walk together. And Parsis tells him he wants to get the Ghoul reward because his job as a woodcutter doesn't make him much money, and he wants to give his family a good life. Hawthorne says, don't try, not even a group of humans can take down a single Ghoul. If you really care about your family, staying beside them is better now. Suddenly, a dark cloud forms above them and a strong lightning bolt strikes Parsis, turning him to ash. Todoroki appears and says to Hawthorne, I was aiming for both of you, but the big guy absorbed the shock. You're very lucky, Mr. Peach Boy Momotaro. Meanwhile, Maki is surprised there was lightning while the sky is clear. She activates her Sindo Eye and is shocked to see Baso and Shinki, so she concludes Todoroki is present. At the same time, Sally sees the explosion and wonders if it has something to do with the Ghoul named Sumeragi, and suddenly Sumeragi appears behind her and says, reasonable guess, but you hurt me. Sally gets startled and tells him, you're a high-level Ghoul, convince them to stop their attack. He replies, I actually can, but why should I help you at all, my enemies? Did you forget that you chose Makoto a moment ago? That boy is insane, killing Ghouls for no reason. And you still chose him, and now you want me to help you. You only care about your own interests, and he stops her from going to save Hawthorne. At the same time, Hawthorne responds to Todoroki, I don't know who this Momotaro you're talking about is, but you're a Ghoul and you killed Parsis. Thank you for giving me a reason to fight. And Todoroki fires lightning again and Hawthorne throws his sword to absorb the shock completely. Meanwhile, Makoto reaches the wall at the explosion site and finds Damaniki sleeping. He decides to kill him, but suddenly feels his vision weakening and loses consciousness. At the same time, Miki and Fra move separately. Maki goes to convince Shinki to stop what's happening, and Fra goes ahead to the explosion site, but on her way, Baso attacks her thinking she's part of Momotaro's team. Sally decides to attack Sumeragi to make him let her pass, and Hawthorne dodges the lightning that Todoroki fires. Then he quickly runs into a passage to set a trap, and it works. Todoroki falls into it, and Hawthorne knocks him out with his wooden sword. Meanwhile, Shinki is walking in the city and hears everyone calling him a monster, which upsets him. Maki arrives and he notices her size has shrunk because she lost her horn. She asks him, are you after Sally? Shinki misunderstands and thinks Momotaro is Sally, and says we're here to avenge you because Sumeragi told Todoroki that Momotaro killed you. Maki asks in surprise, and Todoroki wants to avenge me. Shinki laughs mockingly because she doesn't understand that he loves her, and she asks him, if this revenge really is for me, then it would stop if he saw me alive, right? He says, you're right, but I won't let that happen. I'll kill you right here myself. Meanwhile, Todoroki wakes up furious and says, I was wondering how you killed Meki, but now I understand you must have used those cowardly tricks on her even though you killed Miki. I thought I'd defeat you in a real duel at least, but a coward like you doesn't deserve such honor. At the same time, Fra runs at Baso hoping to reach the others, but he dodges her strike and grabs her. Shinki reaches out and grabs Miki and extends his other hand to strike her. Sally is shocked that her punch was so weak it didn't even budge Sumeragi, and wonders why her power didn't activate, then realizes Sumeragi isn't a Ghoul at all. Meanwhile, Todoroki activates his cannon and lightning forms behind him in the shape of a giant beast. Maki asks Shinki, are you so desperate you're pushing Todoroki into battle? He replies, no, I want to kill you because you're with the coexistence supporters, the Ghouls who obey Sumeragi, who wants Ghouls to live with humans, the Ghouls who don't have the will to fight, and whose numbers are growing every day, and you were the first to betray the Ghouls and side with humans. Maki gives up on reasoning and decides to attack him. Sumeragi strikes Sally hard in the stomach. Baso fires his cannon at Fra. Maki attacks Shinki, but her attacks are too weak and can't pierce his rubbery body. He starts attacking her with his fast punches, And although she dodges them all, she doesn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Hawthorne decides to face Todoroki because he can't escape in this situation. He relies on the fact that the others surely saw Todoroki's lightning and will come to help. His only option is to stall and keep Todoroki in place until they arrive. The lightning beast stretches out its hand to kill Hawthorne. Hawthorne thinks to himself, I've escaped death many times and this is the end, so I'll accept it with dignity, and he runs toward the beast's hand. Unexpectedly, the witch Winnie appears and blocks all the lightning. Todoroki is shocked she was able to do that. We go back to the past when an old man lived with his wife. The old man went hunting in the mountains, and his wife went to wash clothes in the river. One day, the old woman gave their son his lunch, and the old man gave his son a sword. He was surprised because the sword was very valuable, and his father replied, the world is very dangerous, and you might meet hostile creatures on your way. He said, thank you, Dad. His father replied, you still call me Dad, you peach boy Momotaro. He responded, don't call me that name, I'm not a kid anymore, my name now is Kibitsu Hiko Makoto, and he said goodbye and left. On his way, he saw a dog and gave it food. The dog thanked him and he was surprised the dog could talk. The dog told him, calm down. I just thanked you, humans hate my kind because we talk, they consider it a bad omen and attack us. I have to act almost dead to get food. Hiko laughed and asked, you're messing with me, right? The dog said, you're a good man, take me with you, and he agreed. Then he told him that he was on a journey looking for his real parents to ask why they put him in a peach and threw him in the river. Suddenly they heard an alarm that a ghoul was attacking the village. They went and found the ghoul eating someone. Hiko was terrified by the scene, and the dog told him to run. He replied, I'm searching for the parents who abandoned me, so I won't abandon these people. The ghoul reached for a child, but Hiko stopped him. The ghoul angrily asked, who are you to dare challenge me? Hiko drew his sword while shaking intensely. He tried to say his name but couldn't from fear. The ghoul swung his massive hand at him, but surprisingly Hiko stopped it with his hand while his eyes were closed from fear. Then he said enough, moved his hand, and slashed the ghoul in half with his sword, saying I'm Momotaro, the one born in a peach, and his eyes changed to look like peaches. People gathered around him and cheered, because he saved them from the Yule. From then on, rumors of his strength spread, and people suffering from ghoul attacks started calling him to save them. Hiko never let them down, so people started feeling hope when they saw him and clung to him. That made Hiko stop searching for his parents and focus on killing ghouls instead. Hiko thought that if he killed the leader of the ghouls, he would end all the battles, so he headed to their base on Ghoul Island. On the way in the vehicle, he asked the dog, do you hate me? The dog was surprised by the question and Hiko told him, you were used to being in control of your life, but you let me drag you far away for some food. The dog replied, you misunderstood, I came with you, because I wanted to. Hiko reached the island of the ghouls and defeated their leader. The leader asked, do you remember what you promised me before we started the fight? Hiko said, we leave here and never come back and I'll keep that promise. But remember your defeat will bring the Kishin here. After the country was freed from ghouls, they considered Hiko their hero. Afterwards, Hiko built a house for himself in the mountains. He was always worried about the Kishin that the leader had mentioned and didn't want to involve anyone else in the fight. One day the dog asked him, don't you want to see the parents who raised you? Hiko replied, they'll scream in my face if I come back without fulfilling my goal. The dog understood that he said this, but inside he felt lonely. One day, a ghoul came and sat with him, but he didn't have a horn. Hiko asked, did you come here to kill me? He replied, no. I came to ask something. My name is Gaki and my appearance allows me to sneak into the village and eat the people there. Before Hiko could grab his sword, Gaki said, but I fell in love and I got married and had a child, but it ended with me eating my wife. And he cried hard and begged Hiko to kill him. Hiko replied, I see you trembling. Gaki said, I can't resist my instincts as a ghoul, and if this continues, I'll eat my son. Hiko asked, what will happen to him if you disappear? He replied, I left him with people I trust. And Hiko killed him, but he was still worried about his son. The next day, he went to check on him and found people had tied him to a tree and were torturing him. Hiko got angry, stopped them, and untied him. They said, the boy is a monster, we took him in to care for him, but he has a horn on his head, he's a ghoul disguised as a human. Hiko asked, what's the problem with having a horn? Did he do anything wrong? A woman responded angrily, shut up, ghouls killed my child and ate him in front of my eyes, and they all agreed with her. The ghoul's son said, I'm sorry I was born, and cried. Hiko got furious, patted him, and told the villagers, this boy is under my protection, I'll take responsibility for him, no matter how much you hate me. That was the day Makoto met Hiko. That night, Makoto told Hiko, kill me, please, I'm scared to live and don't want to suffer anymore. Hiko said, don't you want to avenge your father? And placed the sword in front of him and bowed, confessing that he killed his father. Makoto remembered his dad, who was the only one kind to him. He got angry and slashed at Hiko's head, but the strike was very weak and didn't kill him. Hiko said, "You'll be much stronger when you grow up, and you'll be able to kill me then, but you won't survive alone, so I'll take care of you." Makoto refused, and Hiko asked him, "Do you want to return to your old life, hated and beaten?" Later, Makoto went to sleep, and the dog asked Hiko, "Why didn't you tell him his father asked you to kill him? Does he have to hate you?" Hiko replied angrily, "Of course his mom disappeared suddenly, and I killed his dad. All he knows is that he's alone and only has a horn whose fault caused all this. Is he supposed to just accept it as his fate in life? I can't ignore a child crying in front of me." From there, Hiko's life with Makoto began, and he taught him reading and hunting. One day, Hiko asked him his name. Makoto replied, "I don't want to say it because it's a silly name, but your name is amazing." Hiko asked, "Do you want to take my name?" And he agreed. That's why his name became Kibitsu Makoto, and they lived together like brothers. Until one day, the Kishin leader Nobariga, the Lord of Laws, appeared and held the meeting of 100 ghouls. On the same day, Hiko gave Makoto his sword again and told him, "You've grown up, and now you can kill me." Makoto ran off saying, "I won't do it," and the dog noticed Hiko's eyes had activated and asked, "Are there ghouls nearby?" Hiko said, "Not yet, but they're Kishin." That night, Hiko found Makoto sitting alone. Makoto told him, "I want to live here forever. Let me stay." Hiko sat and told him, "Go on a journey, you'll find people who'll accept you, and I'll be with you, so don't be afraid. Humans are cowardly and act aggressively toward those different from or stronger than them." And he asked him to promise to smile every time something bad happened or whenever things got worse, and every time he felt like crying to erase it all with a smile. He also promised that as long as he did that, he would protect him. One day, Makoto felt a bad feeling like the one he had when his father died. He was in the forest and rushed to Hiko's house. The dog blocked his way and told him not to go there, but Makoto jumped over him. Hiko had all his limbs cut off, and standing before him was the Kishin leader. Hiko's life flashed before his eyes, and he felt it was a good one, and there was no problem if he died. He grabbed his sword with his teeth and made one last attempt to strike the Kishin leader and barely scratched his face. Makoto appeared in front of him, and Hiko was upset he saw him like this. He smiled and told him to run. Makoto refused and cried. Hiko told him, "You're about to start your journey, so you have to learn to accept yourself." Makoto replied, "I can't. There's no point in living without you. Life is dark, scary, and full of people who hate me." Hiko reminded him of the promise they made and told him, "Take my sword and protect yourself and others with it, and search for what matters to you so you can be proud of the fact that you're alive, and so you can smile every day." A glowing red orb came out of him, and Makoto caught it. He took the sword and suddenly appeared in front of the Kishin leader and cut off his hand. From sheer rage, his horn grew bigger and bigger, and his eye turned into a peach eye like Hiko's, and he defeated the Kishin leader. The leader said, "The battle between humans and ghouls will never end," and Makoto replied, "It will end because I'll kill them all," and he cut off his horn. From that day, there's been a huge hole in his heart, and no matter how many ghouls he kills, it's never filled. We return to the present and Winnie strikes Hawthorne and asks him, "Were you trying to kill yourself?" He replies, "That wasn't my intention, I just didn't want to back down." Winnie notices he has changed a lot from before, and Todoroki is upset with her because she blocked his lightning. So Winnie tells him, "I already interfered, but I have no intention of fighting you. I just came to give Hawthorne this sword," and tells Hawthorne, "I saw you in the orb through my crystal, fighting with a wooden sword, so I came to give you a real sword to fight with." Hawthorne feels something strange in the sword, and Joselino is watching them from atop a building and says, "That sword is terrifying," and the average ghoul says, "Looks normal to me." But she replies, "No, it's extremely dangerous." Winnie tells Hawthorne this sword is called Air, the treasure of the sky. It used to belong to Frau, and I won't say more than that. What matters is that you return it to Frau when you're done, because it has a special history and can cut through anything it wants, whether it's a ghoul's body or lightning, and she leaves and walks away, telling him, "It all depends on your skills." Todoroki tells him, "That sword gave you a bit of confidence, but what do you expect it to do against a sword made of lightning?" He replies, "If that witch says it will work, then I expect it'll defeat you just fine," and Todoroki charges at him furiously. Meanwhile, Basso thinks he's already finished off Frau, but she shocks him by standing up again with her eyes glowing red, and the same black wings appear. With a single blow, she cuts off Basso's wing, then lunges at him and easily slices off his head. Frau returns to her normal self but can't go help Hawthorne and loses consciousness. At the same time, Meki is running from Shinki because she can't pierce his body. She reaches the city wall and gets cornered. She makes him use his stretch ability and dodges so his hand goes through the wall, then uses her Sindo and tricks him. He thinks she's going to use her cannon, but she punches him with her energy and he can't use his power because his back is pinned against the wall and can't stretch backward. She smashes him through the wall and Shinki starts bleeding. Meanwhile, Sumeragi asks Sally, "Do you expect to protect anything while relying on unknown power?" Sally rises with determination and tells him, even if I can't use my power, I'll protect everyone dear to me. Sumeragi laughs and surrenders, saying, I just wanted to test you. She asks him, why didn't my eye react to you at all? He tells her, Hawthorne is about to die over there, are you sure you want to stand here talking? Before she leaves, she says, as soon as I settle things with Makoto, I'll be the one to reach out to you. Meanwhile, Hawthorne charges at Todoroki. Todoroki blocks the sword with his lightning blade, but is shocked when his blade gets cut. Todoroki panics and remembers when Ghouls avoided him because he couldn't control his Ghoul powers. One time, Miki appeared and said, I was ordered to work with you, and placed a hat over his horn, telling him, it's a gift to help you control your power. Todoroki activates the lightning Ghoul again. At the same time, Shinki is very upset and asks Miki, you just defeated someone who tried to kill you, so why do you look like you're in pain? She asks him, you and Todoroki didn't suffer at the hands of humans, so why? He asks her, how do you think humans see me? Because of my appearance. Humans don't call me a Ghoul, they call me a monster. And it's the same among Ghouls who hate me for my ugly appearance. Todoroki was the only one who accepted me and gave me a name, and I believe that only you and Todoroki can find a place among humans. I thought killing you would be better than letting Todoroki join you. It was a selfish move. But it's the truth. He notices she's crying for him, and tells her, if more people like you existed in this world, maybe I too would have found a place. On the other side, Todoroki grows even angrier as he recalls memories with Miki, and Hawthorne notices his lightning Ghoul is more agile and violent than before, and doubts he can beat him. Todoroki charges at him, so Hawthorne closes his eyes and swings his sword, slicing him and wounding Todoroki. A bit later, Todoroki wakes up and says Miki. She replies, I'm here. He panics and asks, how are you alive? She calms him and says I'll explain everything, and he cries out of happiness that she's still alive. Meanwhile, Sally asks Hawthorne, aren't you going to meet Todoroki now that he's awake? He says, no, I'll leave it to Miki. She asks, was he strong? I'm surprised you beat him without killing him. He says, no, I intended to kill him and I hated him because he killed Parsis, but he only attacked me because he thought I killed Miki. If I'd put in more effort to explain, we could have resolved it peacefully. Sally asks in surprise, so why didn't you? He says, to vent my anger. Sally gets mad and tells him, that's not okay, we need to reach solutions without fighting. Hawthorne gets upset because she didn't realize he was joking. Afterwards, Winnie tells them, you all need to go to the city of Legidia, it's the only place in the world that prohibits racism. Meanwhile, Makoto is panicking and grabs his sword and tells the dog, I have to go kill Ghouls, then Hiko will say I'm good. Melia enters, and Makoto stands quickly. The dog holds him and says, you need to snap out of it now. Makoto calms down and apologizes to her. The dog says, I'm surprised you're not shocked. She replies, I expected he'd wake up moody after Dominiki forced him to sleep and gave him nightmares. On the other side, Winnie draws a magic circle and says goodbye to them. Then Sally asks Todoroki, what do you think about joining us? Hawthorne is surprised and says, he's a Ghoul and killed a lot of humans. She says, I know, and I'm not saying he'll travel with us, he'll stay a Ghoul and live among humans as a Ghoul, and tells him, I want you to find a way and succeed in doing that. He replies in surprise, are you insane? We were trying to kill each other just a moment ago. She replies, that was just because someone lied to you and said we killed Miki. There are many types of Ghouls we might never form alliances with, but there are others where attempts have worked. And I believe you're the kind that deserves the effort. And she reaches out her hand. And Frau asks him, would you rather live without purpose or live for something that matters to you? Todoroki thinks and steps closer and slaps her hand, saying, I don't ally with humans, I'll do it my way, and you do it your way. Miki whispers to Sally. He means he's too embarrassed to hold your hand, so let's aim for coexistence in separate ways. And Todoroki gets annoyed by what she said and walks off. Sally asks Miki, aren't you going with him? He tells them, no, her being with me without a horn would get in my way, let her stay with you. Then he thinks about how Miki lost her horn, but her expressions and actions became softer than before, and that now there's a place for Ghouls who are no longer Ghouls. He tells her, take care of the place you belong to now, Miki. As he exits the city gate, he finds Sumeragi and fires a lightning blast near his head and tells him, Miki wasn't dead and there was no Motaro, you tricked me. Why? Sumeragi replies coldly, she lost her horn. So that means she's nearly dead. He tells him, you made us fight, what exactly are you trying to achieve? We wouldn't have done this if not for your lies. Beiso and Shinki died because of you. Sumeragi replies, your words wound me, I am the leader of the coexistence faction, and pierces his heart with his hand and says, as my apology, I'll send you to them, and throws his body and heads toward Legidia. We go back to the past when Sally decided to go to Winnie in the western forest to learn magic. When they entered her house, which is also a cafe and an inn, Winnie welcomed them and said, you're my first guests in a while. Then Winnie said, a human, a half-human, and a Ghoul. So Sally asked her, how did you know? She replied, I've been watching you for a while, you're a very curious group, especially you, Sally. Then Hawthorne asked Winnie, why did you save Barrett? She replied, no particular reason, I was in the library and sensed a huge amount of energy. So I teleported instantly and found him in front of me, so I saved him. If I had more time, I would have saved more. Hawthorne thanked her for saving his soldier. Then Sally asked her, what kind of magic can mages use? She replied, attack spells, teleportation and many more. Sally asked her to teach her magic and said, I don't know how to use a sword, and I'm not strong like Fra. Fra replied, you defeated the giant Ghoul, so you're strong. But Sally felt like she wasn't the one who did that since she doesn't remember what happened. She said, I need a power of my own like magic, it's the only way I can continue my journey. Winnie replied, I've seen your humanity while observing you, and you're someone I don't mind teaching. But I have 3 conditions. First, don't talk about this in front of anyone. Second, you'll obey me without question. Third, my fee is 1 million. Sally was shocked by the amount, and Winnie told her, anyone can use magic if they have the right teacher, which makes misuse easy. I trust you, but I can't take this lightly or do it for free. Sally looked at Hawthorne, and he told her, you know I don't have that kind of money. Winnie told him, considering your situation, I'll take all you have. Sally said, these are orders from a princess. Who's more important, me or money? He said, money. I'm just being realistic. How will we continue our travels without it? She replied, fine, teach me swordsmanship. The next day, Hawthorne started teaching her swordsmanship. Miki remembered when Sumeragi told her, try looking at them using your Sindu, you'll find something interesting. Miki thought, if I look at someone using Sindo, I can see their hidden magical power. She looked at Hawthorne and saw his power was normal. But when she looked at Sally, she was shocked by how much power was hidden inside her. At sunset, Winnie told Hawthorne, there's something I want to show you. She took out her magic crystal and said, look at what happened that day and see her power. At night, Fra entered Winnie's place and Winnie said, I expected you'd come. I think it's been 3 years since last time. A lot has happened during that time. Monsters roam all over the world, and there's destruction among humans and half-humans, and you gave up your power and are pretending to be one of the rabbit folk. I'm not judging that. I'm just telling the truth. Fra noticed a hammer next to her. Winnie said, it's for you. I saw you using a hammer in the crystal and thought you'd need this. And Fra thanked her and said, one more favor for your old friend, teach Sally magic. Winnie agreed and said, but I won't waive the fee, you'll pay me later. Before Fra left, Winnie said, we've met again after a long time and you're leaving. Sit down, I'll make you carrot juice. The next day, Sally was very happy that Winnie would teach her. The first thing was having Fra train her to improve her stamina. Then right after, Hawthorne said it was time for swordsmanship training. He noticed that she was strong and fast and also had a hostile glare. He thought to himself, I can't risk taking my eyes off her, even for a second. Suddenly, he saw the same evil look that appears when ghouls are around, and he raised his hand. Sally was confused. He remembered when Winnie showed him her battle with Sid in the crystal, and was shocked by the power she had. At the time, Winnie said, I can't describe someone with that power as anything but a monster. But Hawthorne disagreed and told her, she's a kind girl. Winnie replied, but only you and I know that people don't try to understand monsters, so they only fear them, just like they decide to avoid witches for the same reason. Then she asked him, after seeing this, would you call Sally a monster? Sally woke up and found herself on the ground after Hawthorne had been afraid of her look. But instead of attacking her, he realized she wasn't a monster and only pushed her to the ground. Then he helped her up. She remembered Winnie when she stood just like that in front of Hawthorne's grandfather, who had taught her and treated her kindly. Suddenly, 2 individuals from different races entered, the leader of the lizard people and the leader of the elves. Winnie asked them, what do you want from me? They replied, we want you to remove the barrier in the southern forest so we can kill the sealed Ghoul there. Winnie brought them inside and asked, why do you want to kill it now? They told her, we've been preparing to fight it for years and the sky hasn't rained in days, the forest is dry, and the winds are calm, so this is the best chance to bring fire and burn the tree old named Joki. Winnie agreed on one condition, that she brings Sally and the others with her. The next day, they all gathered in the southern forest. Winnie sat down to undo the seal over the forest. When Sally tried to talk to her, the lizard leader said, leave her be, she's busy. She asked him, is that smoke she's removing the seal? He replied, yes, that smoke is what's been keeping us from getting close to the Ghoul sleeping in the forest. She asked in surprise, if he's sleeping, why do you want to kill him? He said, a nearby kingdom was destroyed in one night, so we can't allow something this dangerous to remain here. We have children and elders in our village, we must protect them. She replies in surprise, you turned out to be kind even though you act like a bad person. And Hawthorne speaks to the elf leader and says, I noticed the number of lizards is more than the elves. The elf replies, the elves use bows and arrows, so I ordered them to take positions in the forest. Hawthorne asks in surprise, in a foggy area with no visibility, you should put them at the front. The elf asks disdainfully, and what would an amateur like you know? Hawthorne replies, allow me to introduce myself, I'm a commander in the Royal Knight Corps of Remdal. The elf leader is shocked he survived the destroyed kingdom and realizes he's a real professional who knows war. Hawthorne accuses him of not bringing elf soldiers so the lizards would die. The commander replies, that's what I hate about humans, you're actually right, and Sally is shocked as he says, the lizard folk and the elves are enemies, I don't mind if they hate me or kill me, what matters is protecting my people. Sally feels upset seeing more hostility between races than she expected. Suddenly Hatsuki appears from the smoke, and when she sees Miki she asks in surprise, what are you doing with humans? Could it be you betrayed the Ghouls? Sally answers, no, Miki lost her power as a ghoul, and that's why I took her with me, so if you're going to blame someone, blame me. Hatsuki misunderstands and thinks Sally took her horn and dragged her away by force. She says to Miki, don't worry, I'll free you, and suddenly says Sumeragi is a bad guy, I bet this is the reason he brought me here, awakening Joki is just a bonus, hold on Miki, I'll kill you quickly. She launches her hair toward Miki, but Frost steps in front with her hammer. The lizard commander asks, is that the sealed Ghoul? Winnie replies in surprise, no, I haven't even removed the seal yet, and the sealed Ghoul isn't supposed to be conscious. Suddenly, an earthquake happens because Joki is extending his roots beneath them, and Joki appears. Shocking the elf leader, they didn't know Joki was that massive. At the same time, Sumenki and Sumeragi are standing and watching what's happening. Sumenki asks him, was this also your plan? He says, you win me, I'm just doing my best. Sumenki asks, are you trying to test humanity's strength? He replies, something like that. Then they see Makoto passing in front of them, but they still don't know anything about him. Sumenki says, he showed up just in time, I'm hungry, and when he gets close, Makoto cuts off his head. Sumeragi is shocked, and Makoto says sorry, but he approached recklessly, so I had no choice but to kill him with a single strike, looks like he was a noble goal, should I have made it look like a fight? Sumeragi says, no need to trouble yourself, and asks for his name. When Makoto tells him, he's shocked that he's the monster slayer. On the other side, Joki tells Hatsuki, it's hard for me to move with this huge body. She replies, don't let that get in your way, old man. Hawthorne asks Winnie, is your magic strong enough to deal with this thing? She says yes, but magic of that scale will need preparation. So Hawthorne starts using his leadership skills and says, the lizards and elves will draw the giant Ghoul's attention during that time. Winnie will go to the forest to prepare her spell, and as for the hair ghoul, she's focused on Sally, so we'll use her as bait, and Fra and I will take her down. The elf commander says to his people, change of plans, we're helping the lizards. Everyone is shocked, and the lizard commander says, lizard folk and elves fighting together under the orders of a human, what a joke. They begin carrying out the plan. And Sally is happy that all the races are cooperating together, but she remembers her goal is to unite all the races. So she says to them all, listen to me, let's make a peace treaty. Joki gets furious and grabs her with one of his roots, saying, you're very ignorant, don't you know what Ghouls are made of? They're made of human hatred, those who create us trap their hatred in a vessel. And that vessel is later called a Ghoul. We were created to carry innate hatred toward humans, so peace between us is impossible. She replies, but maybe we can at least understand each other a little. He gets even angrier and squeezes her tighter, saying, the thought of understanding humans alone makes me sick, and before Fra moves to save her, Hatsuki blocks her path. Meanwhile, Makoto is standing in front of Sumeragi holding Sumenki's head. Sumenki says I was reckless, and Makoto is surprised he spoke. Sumeragi tells him he's a mask ghoul, which means he won't die unless his mask is broken. Before Makoto breaks it, Sumeragi places a hand on his shoulder and asks him to stop, saying, Joselino will scold me if he dies. Makoto is shocked, when did he get beside him that fast? Makoto throws Sumenki and asks Sumeragi, you're not a normal ghoul, what's your name? When he tells him, Makoto smirks wickedly and charges at him. Sumeragi catches the sword with his fingers and says, I don't like bloody fights, and Makoto is surprised, that's not something a ghoul would say. Sumeragi tells him, I could say the same about you, brutality and attacking others without reason aren't human traits either, that's why I wanted to meet you. At the same time, Sally is furious at what Joki said because her journey's goal is to find a middle ground that pleases all races. Her eye activates and she says, I won't allow my death to be caused by hatred, and she explodes the root Joki is holding her with. Everyone is shocked by her power, and Winnie asks worriedly, can you hear me? Sally smiles and says, don't worry, I'm in control, but my body's hot and my mind is fading. Winnie tells her, hang in there, you're still fighting. When Sally sees Hatsuki, she says, I feel like I want to. Joki asks her, kill her. She says, no, never, and he replies, no need to hide it, it's a natural desire for those who carry your power. She asks, you know something about my power? Joki is surprised she holds such power and knows nothing about it. He continues, Ghoul power is made from hatred, but your power is made from the opposing force, something dangerous enough to destroy all Ghouls. You talk about peace and solutions, But that's impossible. Your existence alone is a threat to the Ghoul race. If you wish to unite humans and Ghouls, you need to kill yourself first. Winnie tries to calm Sally and says, don't believe him. He's speaking out of despair because he's afraid of your power. Sally asks, do I really have a power that can destroy all Ghouls? Winnie says yes. Sally says to Joki and Hatsuki, earlier I proposed a peace treaty as negotiation, but I take that back. These are royal orders, either make the treaty, or I'll kill you. Meanwhile, Sumeragi tells Makoto, there's an offer I want you to hear. As someone who opposes all Ghouls, how about peace between humans and Ghouls coexistence? At the same time, Joki is surprised Sally is threatening them. She tells him, during my journey, I've learned that some things can't be solved with words, and if I have the power, then I'll use it. Hatsuki gets angry and grabs her by the hair, saying, I'm warning you, my hair is harder than steel wire. Sally rips it off with her hand and punches her hard in the stomach and laughs. Joki says, you're smiling and enjoying hurting her, and Sally gets flustered and says no. He repeats himself, no need to hide it, I also enjoyed eating many humans, and now it's my turn to enjoy and finish you off. But first I'll get rid of the weak Ghoul in front of you, her presence annoys me, and he attacks with a root. Sally cuts in front of it and explodes it, then rushes him and destroys him with a single punch. The lizards and elves thank her, and Sally tells Winnie, I'm tired, and falls asleep. Hawthorne notices Hatsuki has vanished. That night, Meki uses her Sindo and sends an eye to Sumeragi. She asks him, did you send Hatsuki to awaken Joki? He replies angrily, tell me everything you know about Sally now, that's what I want to know, we'll talk about everything else later. After she tells him the info about Sally, she sees Sumenki and is surprised. He tells her, the monster slayer did this to me, he's the one who took your horn. She asks, how did you survive him? He says, I managed to persuade him, and we talked about the girl you're watching. Meanwhile, the dog asks Makoto, how could you trust a suspicious Ghoul like that? He replies, I didn't trust him, I trusted Sally. The next day, Sally wakes up and finds the elves, the lizards, and Hawthorne all sitting together and acting normally. She's overjoyed that she almost achieved her goal. Winnie tells her, remember this scene, it'll be the foundation of the rest of your journey. Then Winnie asks her, what will you do? Will you continue learning magic? Sally replies, I have to continue my journey, I can't stay in one place for too long. Because all the Ghouls showing up in my path aren't a coincidence, I think someone knows my power, and is manipulating me, and I don't want to cause trouble for you or the elves and lizards. So I must leave, I'll be fine on my own. Hawthorne asks her, what do you mean by on your own? She replies, like I said, whoever comes with me will have to face Ghouls, and I have a strange power. He tells her, don't jump to conclusions, do you think we're scared? If you're continuing the journey, then we're all coming with you. Sally starts crying, and thanks them. Winnie tells them, I wish I could join you, but my place is here. Still, I'll always be watching you, and my place is always open to you. The next day, they set off on their journey.